So if you ever tried to install a shelf, we'll show you how we're doing this one. We bought these 6-inch brackets on Amazon, and we'll have a link in the description below if you're looking for these. They had them in like 4, 6, 10, 4, 6, 8, and 10 at least. And we're going to put a shelf on here that is a 1x8, and so that's 7¼ inches is the actual size of a 1x8. And so we can't put an 8-inch bracket on, it'll extend too far. So we went to the next smallest, and that's a 6-inch. And part of the challenge in putting shelving on is when you put these on, you want the spacing to be right. And so what I've done here is found the studs using a stud finder. I found, here's one edge of one stud, and where it goes out there, that's the edge of the other stud. So I know I basically want to put my shelf bracket somewhere in here. These brackets have 4 holes on them, and a typical single stud in a wall is 1.5 inches, and that's 3 inches plus 3¼ inches. So I just want to try to get 2 screws in a stud. And I know that that's more than enough to hold up any shelf that we would put up. 2 screws in a stud is real solid. The problem is, as I went here, you can see right here, my stud finder says, oh yeah, there's a stud there. So I was trying to align them in a certain way, and so I was like, okay, I'll catch the end of the stud. Well, there's no stud there. When I drilled it, it went straight through. You can tell there's no stud because when you get past the drywall, there's nothing there. I figured, well, okay, I must be right in the edge of the stud. I missed that one. It's okay if one of them's missed. So I went over this one. Sure enough, the same thing happened over here. So I had to shift all the brackets over because I want at least 2 of these holes to be on a solid piece of wood. The other 2 can either be on wall anchors, or we're not even going to bother with wall anchors. We're just going to put the screws into the drywall because the meat of the weight of the shelf is being borne by these 2 screws right here. And as far as I'm concerned, that's enough. This is just going to be a decorative shelf. You might have some bowls, some plates, coffee pot, whatever on top of here. It's strictly decoration. So what I did is basically what I'm doing is aligning the side of this up with where I think the center is per the stud finder. And then I'm hitting 2 screws in there, and you can tell the difference. Here's nothing behind there, and that's wood. So I've done these, and I've drilled into wood. So I know there's something there. That's where I want the screw to be. So I just do a starter hole for the screws. I've done starter holes in each of these just to make sure I've got wood and at least they're not going straight through the drywall. Then once I've got my starter hole, I'll just take the bracket off because that can get in the way, and I'll finish drilling. And then one thing we can't hardly do without is a laser level. And you can see why they're so crucial, because with that line there, I know this is exactly the right height that I want it to be. Otherwise, you'd have to put a level across here. It takes way longer. And so all I can do is hold that right where I want it, height-wise. And I'm just going to start this screw. And because I actually need my other extension, because this is so long the drill gets in the way, but I want to do the bottom one first, because I know I won't have any problems getting the drill in there. Come on. Okay, now I can do the top one. All right, and there you can see my finger would be the shelf, and you can see it's sitting right there, right where I want it to be. So here's the laser level we're using. We've got a couple different ones. We'll have a link in the description below if you're looking to pick one of those up. We're Amazon affiliates. And this one is, that's a Kaiweets 360 degree, it's in 3 planes. This plane, and then behind. So they're, depending on which buttons you press, you can get the exact plane you want. And this is one we want right here. And then we had just basically stacking up the right amount of wood till it got to the place where we wanted it to be on the wall. Then you can just let that shine. We'll put a link on how to use this laser level right up there in the corner. Unfortunately, we know there's a big electrical line running through here, so I don't want to go near that. And I can't get to a stud easily, so we're just going to use these wall anchors, which I genuinely hate. But for one of these out of the 6, it's probably not going to be that big of a deal. I need to drill a little bit bigger hole. First, I want to get my guide in here. So I got a 3/16 inch drill bit. Oh, it's already pretty. So it just needs to be a little bit bigger hole than what I was using, and then you just screw these in. And we'll just go nice and slow. And you don't want to overdo it because it'll just carve out a huge hole if you go crazy. So nice and slow. Put this up, and then do the same thing on this side. Finished up the shelf. I put a 1.5 inch front piece on it just to give it a little more depth. Glue on the seam, tacked it in with a brad nailer, added a little bit of putty over the nails. We'll probably go ahead and stain it like this island. This shelf adds utility and interest. Worth doing if you have a little bit of DIY skill. You can do the shelf. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and we'll see you in the next video.